for a long time. I'm like, okay, she can.
And I was like, damn, girl, I know I'm funny, but.
But speaking of that, I know you said you was used to be a conservative, Erica. So since we're on the topic, like, what before we get into the protests and all that stuff, can you what did your political journey kind of look like in terms of who you used to support, what kind of ideas they used to have? Because unfortunately, I think one issue that a lot of people on the left have, and this one I saw you raise concern about, was people look at people in their past and they automatically assume that they can't change for the better. So, what kind of led you to change, and what kind of old beliefs they used to have?
I mean, so I grew up in Indiana, and both of my parents came from like the countryside of Indiana, from very like country poor households. And then when they met, they moved to Indianapolis because that's where my dad was working. So I always had like a weird mixture of like influence from growing up on the east side of Indianapolis, and then also like with my parents being, and the rest of my family like being super country poor. So there's two different types of like white trash poor, and one's in the city and one's in the country. It's just what it is. But I mean, a lot of it was just ignorance. And that's why I tell people all the time that like don't discount anyone that used to be a conservative, because a lot of times it's legitimately just because of like they just don't know. Like, I mean, I was a kid, so I give myself a break. But like if you go through my Facebook memories or something like that, it's like I literally I shared a meme in 2012, like during that election, that was like, oh, Obama's gonna take an early lead, and then everyone's gonna get off of work and go vote for Mitt Romney. And like I like look back on it and I'm like, Erica, what the fuck is that? But it was just because that's the shit I was hearing regurgitated in my household. I mean, my parents watched Fox News. My dad was always like a libertarian, and so he's probably a good reason why I took like the first steps like away from like conservatism, I guess, because he was like a true libertarian. He wasn't like the fucking Boogaloo boys that just want to like lick boots. I mean, he very much is for like legitimate small government. Like he even now, like he supports Black Lives Matter. He supports the protests. He is 100% on that side. So my mom, on the other hand, was a staunch Republican. I'm like racist, homophobic, which is actually a huge reason why I think I did, because I am bisexual. So when I came out of the closet to her and she tries to fucking send me to Mike Pence day camp, it's like, oh, okay, maybe this bitch is wrong. And so I think a lot of it, honestly, at least for me in the beginning, growing up in a conservative Midwest household, was just like having my own personal, like, no, like I'm like, I date women. And then it was like, but then it kind of like everything kind of unraveled from there. So that was a big part of it. I also got my ass beat in high school for like just being stupid and ignorant. So that's why I'm pro brick.
Pro brick.
But for the most part, I was conservative. I'd always say I was fiscally conservative, socially liberal. And then I didn't know what that means. I didn't know what that meant. I just said it because Fox
anyone
News
really
said
know
it.
What it means?
No, no one
Everyone used to say that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I said it about myself too.
Like that was just one of those talking points that like people hear and they're like, yes, this is me.
I feel like people say that because they feel like they want to sound like an adult, pretty much. They're like, yeah, when it comes to financial issues, I'm buttoned down. So they
and what's funny is like, I literally am just like, oh, I'm unfiscally conservative as our ass is on food stamps. Like, bitch, shut up. Like, just shut up. So it was just denial. A lot of it. It was like, oh, we're poor, but it's not our fault. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know, we're trying. It's everyone else that's not trying. So that was really the first step. And then joining the Navy to escape poverty was radicalizing in itself. Yeah. And then, of course, like just meeting people, talking with people. And then I was flipped to a lib because of Bernie. I really liked Bernie in 2016. I was deployed for almost the entire primary. So I wasn't really around firsthand for a lot of the fuckery that was happening with like the Hillary campaign and everything. And when you're in Yemen, like we didn't have internet. So it's like, I didn't know what was going on. And so after I came home, I was like, "Oh, you go vote blue no matter," and like that was bad. And that was my first general election I could vote in. I definitely was like a big vote shamer. I couldn't believe people were feeling, discouraged by the system and why they wouldn't vote for Hillary. But then pretty much after
now, it seems so crazy knowing what I know about
it is
now.
weird.
So the evolution is real, man. People need to understand that.
And yeah, absolutely. And like
I was knocking doors for Bernie last year.
Yeah, no, like that's what I mean. Is like
Iowa.
It's crazy to look back on and then to just think about like, damn, like, okay, what happened? And so I was on my lib shit until, I mean, God, I believed Russiagate. I like bought one of those dumb books that was like about Russiagate.
Bought the book.
I should have brought it up.
I'm sorry, Erica. We're gonna laugh at you a little bit, just a little bit.
No, please, I encourage it.
You had a phone case that said something about Miller on it.
I did. I had a phone case that said, "In Mueller we trust."
No.
See, my thing is like everyone know that I'm like super anti-Russiagate now, but I didn't start tweeting until like late 2018, and I actually went to Russiagate with an open mind. Like I was never like a hardcore Russiagator, and that's why I went really after Russiagate, because when it happened, I remember there was a lot of people on the left that immediately went after it, and they was right in hindsight, right? But I remember I was just thinking like, yo, you guys are kind of jumping the gun. Let's see what this is all about. And then as it went on, I quickly realized I was like, okay, this is bullshit. Like this is straight up bullshit. So
well, I can't believe I fell for it, because when I was in the Navy, I worked in intelligence.
Yeah,
it's like that's literally your job.
Yeah, and specifically Russia. Like I was a sonar technician for my main job, and anti-submarine warfare is based around two major countries. That's China and Russia. And I was on the East Coast, so it was Russia. And so it's just really funny that, like, looking back on it, I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely true. The government doesn't lie to people.
So wait, you worked with or on Russian intelligence, and now you're a socialist and saying
I'm turning my camera off. Well, it was
saying they were right.
It's just funny, like looking back on it now, because of how quickly it all happened. And a big reason why I turned into a leftist was I realized a lot of the contradictions. I think a lot of the radicalization I've seen just from like my friends or people I've met on Twitter happened after the primaries.
Yes.
Like right near Super Tuesday. A lot of people that like, I was out door knocking for Bernie constantly in Virginia, and I was doing everything that I could. And so when I saw that, and I saw like the coalescing behind Biden, and then you just kind of like realize everything. And that's the same time I joined Twitter. I was like,
Twitter
oh
helps.
Shit.
Twitter
oh no.
Process.
Yeah. And I had a good friend of mine who I legitimately cannot repay, that took time out of his day for a long few weeks and every day talked to me all day about everything, about Venezuela, about Cuba, about the USSR, about the CIA, about everything. And like, he didn't have to do that. And like the fact that he did that, like, I don't know. I just feel like I owe him the world, because like without him during that time period, because we were friends already, but like we both have babies, so that's how we became friends. And so then it turned into him really taking the time to help me get there. And so yeah, like that's why I always tell people to talk to people, because it can just take one person and then you can flip them.
I think that's how radicalization happens for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people just end up randomly picking up a book one day and I was radicalized through my comrades.
Yeah, good friends don't let their friends be stupid libs. That's why.
Lib shit.
Good friends don't let us, because I don't talk to politics a lot with my friends. But there's one thing that like my super close friends, like the people that can't help it but be around me when I follow my politics. I tell the story before, but one thing that made me super proud is I remember when I was in South Carolina, my brother was talking to somebody. I don't remember exactly who it was. It may have been a voter, maybe someone else in the Bernie campaign. I don't necessarily remember, but I remember him. My dad still got a little bit of Obama hope, but him, my friends, I mean, anyone in the black community while I'm around, like a lot of people don't understand. If you're not in the black community, it's really, really hard to describe the level of commitment that our community had towards Barack Obama, because he was our shining hope, and there's a lot of people that still hold on to the fact that Obama was a good guy. And I don't get really that mad at, especially like a lot of the black people that come from the black community, because my dad, he grew up in Alabama, and he has stories for your ass about getting in a fight with white gangs, and he been discriminated against, and he know friends who've been lynched. Like he been through the ringer of white supremacy. So if you can't really explain properly how much Obama meant to a lot of black people. So despite all the things that Obama did, they still harbor on. They still hold on. Like, you guys saw my tweets in Obama in 2012. I still I remember before the Mitt Romney election, that's when I started not to like Obama as much. But I still really wanted him to win that election, because I was like, my mindset was, even though I didn't like Obama, I was like, man, the first black president can't be a one term. Like that can't happen. That would be so devastating for our community. So I remember, back to the story, when my brother was talking to someone. It was me unprompted. He was like, Obama actually wasn't. He was actually kind of a piece of shit. And I remember when he said that, I was like, yes, that's me. Like that, I got. Like, it wasn't me. I didn't force him to say that. He just he started coming to conclusions on his own, and that kind of the approach I take with my friend. I tell people I believe, I make my argument. But that's the one I always work on, and even with my dad to this day, like, my dad is a little bit more he's a little bit more aware of Obama not being perfect, but he still won't drop, like, the fact that he's not a good guy. Like, he will say stuff like, yeah, I mean, it went for the Republicans blocking him and shit like that. And I was had to explain to him.
That's a hard one. It's a hard one to really get past that, because
it's heartbreaking. It really is.
Even though, like, my parents were like Republicans, they both voted for Obama in 2008.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because he ran that progressive message. And also, like, Bush was just such a disaster that, the stars had aligned. But the biggest thing was healthcare. That was why my parents voted for Obama in 2008, but that's why they didn't vote for him again in 2012, because they were very upset after he had the supermajority for 2 years.
Nothing.
And just we got, like, some bastardized ACA that was legitimately just written up by insurance companies. So it was, and that's what's hard too now about flipping voters, because you have so many people so disenfranchised by the system that it's like, oh, and that what was hard about getting people to come out for Bernie even to vote, because it was like, look, we have this guy, hope and change, and people still have those memories of having that hope for change in 2008 and then 2012. So we're literally going against this system that purposely oppresses these people so they don't come out for change.
I feel guilty sometimes still for, like, giving disenfranchised people hope for Bernie.
Yeah.
Oh,
and sitting down and talking with people who said, I'm not going to put my heart and soul into this because I don't think it's going to work. And I'd be like, no, trust me. Like, we have to try. We have to make an effort. And getting them hyped up and excited. Like, I remember when my mom told me she voted for Bernie, because she hasn't voted in years. And her words to me were just like, they're not representing me. None of them are. And nothing they're going to do isn't going to improve my life. So why would I vote for them? I don't know when the last time she voted was. But I, like, begged her, and I was like, please vote for Bernie. Like, it would mean a lot to me, and, like, would always tell her about it, get her hyped up. And she was finally like, you know what? I think he really has a good message and a good shot. And, Biden was leading in the polls, and she kind of made the connection herself. I remember, like, I asked her a question in the bathroom one day, and she's like, is Joe Biden really leading? I said, I guess that's what's going on right now. And she said, Bernie must have really intended on following through with what he promised if they're trying to stop him this hard. And she just kind of came to that conclusion on her own. And she still voted, and I hugged her, and I was so happy. And I think all the time about her and the people that I promised that there would be something, and gave them hope to just be crushed again by the system and the rigging and everything that happened.
Yeah, I feel like people have no idea the immense negative impact that Barack Obama had by being such a disappointment that he was. Because I know a lot of people that are apolitical